The 32-team World Cup was perfect. The format was easy to understand and had the best competition balance of quality and diversity. Then FIFA came and flushed all that down the toilet, with the quantity going up and the depth of quality going down, making more room for one-sided games. They implemented an awful 3-team per group stage format. Then the final day of Group E in the previous World Cup came, which made Infantino think maybe we should keep it to 4 teams per group. So we have a better format, but there is an extra knockout round with a bracket that has a more complicated process to understand. They could have had it so only first advance and the best second teams go through, but I think we would still have a complicated knockout bracket if that happened. After the expansion announcement, 2018 and 2022 felt like auditions to change it back for 2034. In 2018, Panama, Tunisia, and you can maybe say Egypt were the only bad performing teams. Even a team like Morocco with 1 point gave tough games to Iran, Portugal, and Spain. And it was a similar story 4 years later, where champions Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, who finished fourth in the group. Groups E and H also proved to be particularly competitive. But it wasn't enough to convince FIFA, and money talks. It's easy just to say I want to change things back to the way they were. However, the challenge I put on myself was how can I make the quality better without FIFA losing money? So without further ado, here's my proposal. So we are going to keep it to the same number of teams, but with a twist. The knockout round of 32 will be scrapped. We're going to split the competition half and half. The best 24 play in the group stage, 8 groups of 4. The other 24 are to be placed in a preliminary group stage, where the best 8 will be the top 4 teams in the main group stage round. To balance the fan experience and the number of games each team should play, each team in the preliminary round play 2 games. To keep a fairness on playing time, these matches will be played whilst the better teams will play friendlies. These games will be played in the host country, like the 2022 Intercontinental Playoffs were. At least one host must play in this round, as FIFA won't allow 2 neutrals to play the opening match of the tournament. 2 hosts can play in the main group stage round. Allocation-wise, I've split the numbers to half of what they were for most of the confederations in the 2026 World Cup. However, you can tinker with it, like adding another South American team in the 32 group stage. Once the 8 winners from the preliminary round advance, the rest of the World Cup plays out like the 32-team World Cup. So with that in mind, let's test this out on the next 3 World Cups, starting with the 2026 World Cup. This here is the 32-team group stage. The rankings will look something like this. Pot 4 is empty, and that's for the preliminary group stage. I then did a mock draw for both, and they turned out something like this. The regular permutations from the last 2 World Cups apply. In the preliminary round, it's a bit more relaxed in the sense that you can have groups with 2 different confederations. You could even change it where it's like the Women's World Cup and we saw a group of France, Brazil, Jamaica and Panama, 2 CONCACAF nations. So you could have something like that. Having tested it out both ways, I found that things are easier and better if you do the 32-team group stage first and then build the permutations for the preliminary group stage, the group stage of 32. Simple enough to follow. Whoever wins their group goes into the group of the same letter in the group of 32. Except for groups A and B, where given that Canada are in Group B for the World Cup they're going to implement, I thought I'd put them in Group B for the group of 32. Now let's look at the 2030 World Cup. Now this is going to be more difficult to implement when it comes to allocating the hosts into more formats. Let's start with the rules. So we know 1 host team needs to kick off the tournament, and a maximum of 2 can go into the 32-team group stage. We're going to have Portugal and Spain in the 32 group stage because they were part of the original bid to get this World Cup. and plus Morocco are generally the lowest ranked of the three nations. As for how to incorporate the South American nations, there's two ways of going about it. One, you could have that round take place in the southern South American countries, or if you want to reduce the carbon footprint, have a group with Uruguay's host city Montevideo, Argentina's host city of Buenos Aires, and Paraguay's host city. And the rest can be taken place in the Iberian and Moroccan host cities. Given the want to commemorate the 100-year anniversary that was taking place in Uruguay and the World Cup begins in Montevideo, we're going to have Uruguay in Group A of the preliminary group stage. And as for the other two nations, they will qualify for this World Cup. If they get into the automatic qualification positions, they will go to the group stage of 32. If not, at a minimum, they can be in the preliminary group stage round. And finally, the 2034 World Cup, hosted in Saudi Arabia. Well, this will be a lot more simple. Saudi Arabia play the opening game of the tournament in the preliminary group stage, and then the rest will be done by rankings. If you want to, you could find a way to make Saudi Arabia a Part 1 nation in the 32-team group stage if they qualified, and kept the rest the same if otherwise. So there was my proposal overall of how to make the World Cup better post 2022. What do you think? Would you go along with this? Do you have your own ideas? Or would you rather it just stayed as it is? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All interaction is very much appreciated and will help this channel grow. I hope you enjoyed the content. And until next time, see you in the next video.